Green Lantern. Biography. Alan Wellington Scott, former husband of Alex Florin, alias Rose Canton, alias Thorn 1. Husband of Molly Maine Scott, alias Harlequin 1. Father of Jenny Lynn Hayden, alias Jade, and Todd Rice, alias Obsidian. Residence, Capital City, later Gotham City, later Keystone City, later Los Angeles, California. Occupation, engineer, later radio broadcaster, later broadcasting executive. First appearance, Golden Age. All-American Comics, issue 16, July 1940. First appearance, Silver Age. The Flash, volume 1, issue 137, June 1963. Joined JSA, founding member. Pre-Crisis Fate, active until Crisis. Post-Crisis Fate, retired as Green Lantern in Zero Hour, issue 3. Became Sentinel in Showcase 95, issue 1. Origin. Little is known of the early life of Alan Scott. Sometime after receiving an undergraduate degree, Scott pursued a medical degree for 2 years but abandoned it to study engineering instead. Revealed in All-Star Comics, issue 2. By 1939, Alan Scott was an engineer designing railways in the American Southwest. At the time, a man named Decker was his company's main business rival. Decker sabotaged a rail bridge designed by Scott's company. When Scott was testing a new locomotive, as it crossed the sabotaged bridge, Decker's explosive detonated, derailing the train and killing everyone aboard except for Scott. His life was saved because he held onto the train lantern made of an odd green train metal. In the wreckage, the lantern spoke to him, revealing a strange history. The metal of the lantern had been made from an ancient meteor that had crashed in China several hundred years earlier. The lantern did not reveal that the meteor was originally part of the Starheart, a concentration of magic that the Guardians of Oa had banished from their homeworld of the Oa in the Earth-1 universe. Green Lantern, Volume 2, Issue 111 and 112. A man named Chang shaped the meteor into a Chinese lantern. The lantern spoke to Chang, saying that it would flame 3 times. Once to bring death, once to bring life, and once to bring power. When Chang was slain by suspicious villagers, the lamp flamed and slew his attackers. After centuries, the lamp passed into the hands of a mentally ill lamp maker at Arkham Asylum. In his hands, the lamp flamed again and restored his sanity, giving him life again. By unknown means, the lantern had ended up in the hands of Alan Scott on the day of the derailment. The lantern then flamed before Scott, fulfilling its prophecy of bringing power. The lantern instructed Scott to form a ring from its metal and to press the ring to the lantern to charge it. After doing so, Scott tracked Decker to his hideaway and confronted his men. In the course of the melee, Scott learned of the green flame's weakness when he was injured by a wooden club after metal bullets from a blackjack had failed. Scott prevailed, however, and Decker signed a confession for his deeds. The strain was too much for Decker, who died immediately thereafter. Alan Scott then created a costume and named himself Green Lantern after the source of his power. All-American Comics, Issue 16. Green Lantern took time off from his engineering work to travel and acquaint himself with his new powers, stopping crimes in Metropolis, All-American Comics Issue 17, in New York City. While there, he made the acquaintance of Irene Miller when she helped clear the name of her brother, Danny, All-American Comics Issue 18. Scott eventually settled in Capital City just in time for the murder of John Tellum, head of Apex Broadcasting. A radio engineer by trade, Scott decided to investigate the murder from within. He also thought that a job in radio would serve his identity as Green Lantern by giving him fast access to breaking news. Applying to Apex, Scott learned that Irene Miller had also worked for Apex, and the two struck up a friendship. Miller discovered that the assistant manager of Apex Broadcasting, Mr. Gates, had arranged for Tellum's death when Tellum tried to leave a criminal operation centered at Apex. Green Lantern brought Gates and his cohorts to justice. Since Green Lantern, as Alan Scott as well as in his heroic identity, had helped in Gates' capture, Scott was awarded a job at Apex. All-American Comics, Issue 20. Scott remained at Apex for several months and developed a relationship with Irene Miller that was more likely than professional. Because he moved from city to city, Green Lantern was not well known at first. After he settled in Capital City, however, his fame grew quickly. Green Lantern achieved a large degree of public notoriety after capturing gangster Elias Strake. All-American Comics, Issue 21. A feat which made him front-page news for Capital City's newspaper, the Daily Globe. All-American Comics, issue 22. Within months, Green Lantern was a national phenomenon. In late 1940, he was selected by British intelligence agents along with Batman and the Flash to infiltrate Axis subversive operations in England. The trio was captured and taken to Berlin. Their later rescue led to the formation of the Justice Society of America, of which Green Lantern was a charter member and early chairman. DC Special, issue 29. In 1941, Apex Broadcasting developed a method to reduce static in broadcast radio waves. Apex sent Irene Miller to the construction site of the new towers as a courier carrying their secret plans. After hailing down a cab driven by flamboyant taxi driver Dobby Dickles, nicknamed for his ever-present brown derby hat, Miller was followed by gangsters who had been hired by a rival station. Dickles and Miller were ambushed, but Dickles fended off the thugs, allowing Miller to reach the site. When the new station was finished, the criminals again assaulted the location. Green Lantern soon arrived to battle them. When Miller and Dickles happened upon the scene, Miller was taken captive and Green Lantern was knocked unconscious by the speeding getaway car. Taking the initiative, Dobby disguised himself in a Green Lantern costume. As the thugs laughed at the imposter, the real Green Lantern arrived and the two made short work of the Vandals. Later, Green Lantern rewarded Dickles by making him his right-hand man. All-American Comics, issue 27. When Green Lantern was captured a few months later by criminals trying to break up a cab drivers' union, the criminals unmasked the hero. Not recognizing him, the thugs left Green Lantern to be dealt with later. When Dobby arrived at the scene to rescue Green Lantern, he recognized the unmasked hero as Alan Scott. Although Green Lantern had clearly mastered the ability to hypnotize people with his power ring by this point, All-American Comics issues 23 and 33, he allowed his friend to retain the knowledge of his dual identity. All-American Comics, issue 35. Later that year, Green Lantern joined the rest of the JSA in fighting villains hired by Ian Karkull to assassinate President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the next 9 presidents of the United States to follow him. Unfortunately, Green Lantern failed to prevent the sorcerer Wotan from killing a young boy who would have been the 9th president to succeed Roosevelt. In other words, the president who would have been elected after Ronald Reagan. In the climactic battle against Karkull, the JSA, including Green Lantern and several of their loved ones, were exposed to chronal radiation as Karnal's shadow form was destroyed. The heroes would eventually discover that the radiation had effectively slowed their aging. Green Lantern, haunted by his failure to save the young boy from Wotan, resigned from active duty in the JSA. All-Star Squadron, issue 3. When America entered World War II, President Roosevelt formed the All-Star Squadron, in which Green Lantern was a member. All-Star Squadron, issue 3. At some point after the war started, probably around 1943-1944, Alan Scott left Apex to work for radio station WXYZ in Gotham City. After moving to Gotham, his relationship with Irene Miller was distant, if it existed at all. Throughout the war, Green Lantern was prevented from entering Axis-held territory by a sphere of influence generated from spells cast with the Holy Grail on the Spear of Destiny. All-Star Squadron, issue 4. Nonetheless, he remained busy on the home front, battling foes like the Silhouette in 1943, All-American Comics issue 52, and The Gambler in 1944, Green Lantern Volume 1, issue 12. In the autumn of 1944, Green Lantern encountered one of his most gruesome and formidable adversaries in the form of Sullivan Grundy. Grundy would probably not be considered alive in any real sense of the word, being instead an animation of a corpse by vegetation and magical forces. He was named Solomon Grundy by a band of reprobates he found near the swamp of his origin. Grundy became the muscle for a crime rate that ultimately attracted the attention of Green Lantern. After several confrontations, Green Lantern finally defeated Grundy, allowing him to be crushed by a locomotive. All-American Comics, issue 61. Grundy returned, however, confronting Green Lantern on several more occasions. Comic Cavalcade, issue 13 and 24. All-Star Comics, issue 33.